Okay, so the first thing you want to do is go to drive.google.com and sign in. And then when you're there, go to the top right and look for this grid box and select it, and then look for Classroom, and then choose Classroom. Now from here, you're going to look for your class. I've got both AM and PM here. So choose your class, and then when you do, you'll be at this, you'll probably be over here on Stream, and then you want to go to Classwork, okay? And then we're talking about the first day, which is going to be Monday the 23rd of March, Monday, March 23rd, and we're doing vocabulary. And you've got a bunch of stuff here. Soon I'll have the assignment. It's not up yet. When you see this video, it might be. And you can see the assignment here. But right now we're doing the study material, and we have these two primary things. The first one is our word bank, which you will use to help you use the vocabulary and to record how many times you use it if you like that, if you want to do that way. And then we've got our word wall. So if we go back, this is the word wall here, okay, which is what I'm going to do primarily in the video, and then we've got the word bank. This is the word wall, okay, and let's get started. Okay, we are in episode 5, which is about the Civil War, and we're finishing up the last chapter, which is about emancipation. Okay, so as far as our vocabulary, we've got abolished, enfranchisement, emancipation, masterstroke, these dead shall not have died in vain, ultimatum, henceforth, Emancipation Proclamation, 87 years ago, an election looming, industrial might, beg for mercy, scorched earth approach, crops torched, validate, till, scavenging, shock and awe, tender, and finally, logical infrastructure. Sorry, logistical infrastructure. Logistical infrastructure. Okay, abolish is to bring to an end, to do away with. It's something official, and it's often when the government will officially stop doing something. For example, the death penalty. The government may abolish the death penalty. In this case, we're talking about slavery, abolishing slavery. And if you remember before, we talked about the abolitionists, which were people who were fighting for slavery to be abolished. Okay, enfranchisement. Enfranchisement is a statutory right or privilege granted to a person or group by a government. So it's to officially have some privilege. Let's go take a look at that word, and we're going to look at a definition from Bing, which is a competitor to Google. And it says here, as a noun, the giving of a right or privilege, especially the right to vote. The World War hastened, which means to make go faster. The World War hastened the enfranchisement of women. So here we're talking about former slaves who got the right to vote, and the example given here is of women, and women's fight for equality historically has been linked and connected with the fight for civil rights as well. Historically, which means not now, it meant liberation from imprisonment or slavery, and that's the sense that we're using it in the historical sense. Now we can go to a website that focuses on etymology, which is the root of words, and this one is Etymon online, or Etym online, Etym online, which is Etymology online. And you can see here, it's the online etymology dictionary. And enfranchise here comes from the 15th century, and it's to give someone the status or privilege of citizenship. And if we see here, it comes from en, which means make or put in, plus franc, which means free. And it asks us to see franchise, so we'll go see franchise. And franchise, from the 14th century, which means the 1300s. The century is always 100 years more. So in the 1300s, it meant to make free, and this came from the Old French, franchise, which is the past participle stem of franchir, which means to free, from the 12th century, which came from franc, which meant free. Okay. And so that's what it is. To franchise is to give someone their freedom. Emancipate. Emancipate is a related word, and it means to set free from control. It comes from the Latin emancipatus, which is a past participle of emancipare, which means to put a son out of paternal authority, to declare someone free, give up one's authority over. So it meant historically when a young man became independent of his father. And in Roman law, the freeing of a son or wife from the legal authority, patria potestas, of the pater familias, meaning to make his or her own way in the world. And digging deeper, it comes from ex, out or away, and mancipare. And mancipare is to deliver, transfer, or sell, which comes from mancipum, which is ownership, which comes from manus, which is hand, and this comes from the Proto-Indo-European root man, and capare. Capare is, in Proto-Indo-European, to grasp, to hold. And then from that we get emancipated, which is to free from someone's grasp, to be independent. Okay, so that was digging deep. We were going deep into both enfranchisement and emancipation, which here is the freeing of someone from slavery, because those are some real key terms for this chapter. Masterstroke is a very skillful act, and opportune, meaning it's the right thing to do at the right moment. It's the perfect thing to do, a masterstroke. It's like you were playing chess and you made the perfect move in order to win. Vain is without reason. So these dead people, their death should not be for nothing. These people died for a reason. Their sacrifice was not for nothing. An ultimatum is the final proposal or statement of conditions. This is your kind of last chance before something really, really serious happens. You give someone an ultimatum, and then if they don't do it, they get fired or something really bad happens. Henceforth is an older way. We still use it, but it's very formal. And it means after now, from now on. Henceforth, everybody can have free ice cream on Tuesdays. That would be nice. Emancipation Proclamation. This was issued by Abraham Lincoln in 1862, and it declared that all slaves in the Confederate States would be free. Notice that that was in the middle of the Civil War. Not before the war, and also not in the beginning. Score. Score is a number that means 20. So 4 score would be 4 times 20 is 80. And this is something very famous from a speech by President Lincoln. And he said 4 score and 7 years ago, which would be 87 years ago. Rewording is another way to say. When something's looming, it's hanging over you and it's about to happen. A loom is something that hangs, and so when something's looming, it's pending or waiting to happen. An election will come very soon. Might is strength or power. Industrial might refers to the power of industry from your country. Beg, strongly beg, plead, ask for. Grovel is another way of saying begging. Please, please, please. The verb of saying please, please is to plead. So to beg for mercy is to grovel or plead, to please don't kill me, please don't kill me. Scorched earth. Scorch is to burn. And scorched earth approach is a military strategy which involves destroying anything that might be useful to the enemy while advancing through or withdrawing from an area. So if your enemy was attacking you and as you retreat, as you run away, you might burn all the farms so that there would be no food for your enemy. So we had scorched, and here we have torched. Torch is a big stick that you have a fire on one end, and when you torch something, you burn it, crops or plants. So it's the destruction of food and related resources to prevent a populace, which is a population of people, from eating. Very cruel. Validate is to confirm the truth of. It's to prove the truth of something. Till is short for until. We often say until further notice, which means something will happen or not happen, and at some point in the future that will change. Until. I will continue to teach until I retire. After I retire, I'm not going to teach anymore. Scavenging. Scavenging is searching for discarded, which means thrown away, scraps, which are the pieces you didn't want, or anything useful you can find. Searching for discarded scraps or anything useful that you can find. Scavenging. Hyenas in the jungle, in the savannah. After a lion would eat the wild dogs, the hyenas come in and they eat what's left. That's scavenging. And the people or animals who scavenge are scavengers. Shock and awe became a popular term after the Gulf War in the early 90s. And it was the idea of using such amazing military power that your enemy would just give up. So this is a military technique based on using overwhelming power and force to paralyze the opponent and destroy the will to fight. To paralyze someone in this case means to make them so they can't move, and in the case of a war, so that your enemy can't fight. Tender. Tender as an adjective means sweet or soft. Here it's a verb, and you tender your resignation. It means to offer. It's like a formal way of saying I resign, I quit, I tender my resignation. To offer or present something formally, such as a resignation to a job or a surrender in a war. You can tender your surrender. Logistical infrastructure, the things, infrastructure, necessary for the flow of goods between the point of origin and the point of consumption. So this is logistics. Logistics is moving what you need to be in the right place at the right time. So once again, logistical infrastructure, the things, infrastructure necessary for the flow of goods between the point of origin and the point of consumption in order to meet some requirements of customers, corporations, the government, or the military. So you can see further in Quizlet and a younger version of me. And if we go to quizlet.com/NYCESL, and then from here you want to look for our most current class, which is the 2020 FY NYCESL class, and Then in here you want to look for Episode 5, Civil War, Chapter 5, Emancipation. And then in here, there's lots of stuff you can do. We've got flashcards, and you have abolish, and then to bring an end to do away with. You can click on all these different options here. You can do learn, which is something good to do when you're first starting. Gosh, I hope that wheel doesn't spin to so long. Great. Okay, so page is loading. And answer every term correctly twice to finish. Okay, let's try. An election will come very soon. Is this an election looming? Industrial might, scorched earth, and of course it's number 1. Abbreviation for until. Abolish, till, yes, it's number 2, henceforth, and then we do number 2. So this is how to do learn. Now let's go back, and oh gosh, let's go back, and you have all different things you can explore: write, spell, test, games. I encourage you to try these and to learn the vocabulary. And we're going to start the game, and everything has to disappear. Here we have an election looming, and an election will come very soon. To bring to an end, to do away with, should be abolish. And emancipation is the freeing of someone from slavery. And ultimatum is the final proposal. Shock and awe is a military technique. And Crop's torch is the destruction of food. And that's how you can do that. Okay, great.